All right, everyone, you know what this is. This is Circle Brothers Podcast with RJ.
And Eric.
Let's get it.
Yup.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you know what this is. Circle Brothers Podcast with RJ.
And Eric.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the fray. This has been a very, very interesting week. It has been a week, actually 2 weeks since we last talked. And of course, as usual, there's a whole lot of stuff that's going on in the land of video games, entertainment, movies, TV shows, and whatnot. And we are here to chop it up with you because you know when you're rocking with Circle Brothers, you're rocking with the best. So, as I have got choked up here. You know why I'm choked up here? Because I have my nephew here in the building. Ladies and gentlemen, Elijah.
What's up? I'm Elijah.
So you guys may remember I talk a lot about my son and stuff, and so he decided he wanted to join us for this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, as you already know, with Circle Brothers, we always bring in family and friends, and you know what? We just come out and say it like this. If you're friends with us, you're not really friends, you're really family. That hence the term Circle Brothers, but we'll talk about that a little bit later, and definitely get more of the brothers in here, because me and Eric, we're more than just
Us two?
Yeah, Circle Brothers is a lot of us. We're just the two that actually is in front of the camera at the moment. So,
Right.
outside of that, without further ado, we'll go ahead and jump into the randomness here. Ladies and gentlemen, Eric, Garrett, what you got for us today, man?
All right. So first thing I want to talk about are stupid Spider-Man from Home theories.
Mm-hmm.
Now, mind you, a lot of people want to see this movie, and all the reviews I've heard so far have been great. Some people say go see it twice,
Right.
but they're under non-disclosure agreements, and like they
Of
have
course.
to keep everything quiet.
Right. If
Um,
they want to get paid.
Exactly. Or they don't want to not be able to get early access to movies and things like that.
Gotta get that
So, yes.
Yes.
And so, in this case, there are fans who've theorized a whole bunch of stuff about this movie and things that people believe. And so, there's three fan theories that stick out to me that I wanted to discuss with you guys.
Yeah.
So one is, and I mentioned this before, that when I said that my kids think that Ned's gonna die, and then we talked about how like in the comic books, you had said that, right?
Ned.
Yeah. Okay. So Ned's not dying in this movie. I don't care what you think.
Someone is. Someone's gonna die.
No. Why do you think someone's dying?
Because have you seen you've seen the trailer, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I read an article,
Okay.
and they enhanced the when he's standing there in his stealth suit, his new stealth suit,
Okay.
and they enhanced the image, and you can see that there's someone in the goggles, and he's crying. So either something tragic happens, or someone's dying.
Or someone ate an onion.
That could be true too. But what if his suit is onion proof?
Okay. So
I can't smell this suit. It's filtered.
Right.
It's all filtered.
So here's the thing. They did this. They did all this trickery with Avengers Endgame, where they cut out people specifically. They use CGI to cut them out.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
you
I could be wrong.
So what if they photoshopped something in there so you couldn't see what was going on? That's why I'm saying I don't think Ned's gonna die. I don't think they're gonna kill a kid off in a movie. I just don't see them doing that.
I don't know. Let's see. Well,
I mean, it's Marvel. They do whatever they want. So
right.
But
But
except for rated R stuff. So
yeah, well, there's that.
All right.
So, but on this time, let me check in on that. Emergency Awesome, which I used to watch all the time, and I still do because he's actually an awesome
Charlie
show.
show,
If you actually watch Emergency Awesome on YouTube, it is actually chock full of stuff that we actually do. He's just more serious about it. We're just like stupid about it. So
shout out to Charlie because the show is great.
it is. So basically, what he always says about trailers is that you kind of have to treat them with a grain of salt because sometimes they actually throw a lot of fudge in there to kind of throw people off from the actual movie itself to try to basically keep you from understanding what the movie really is about. I think that may be the case where they may have actually did that because they've done that before with Avengers and they've done that before with a bunch of other Marvel movies too. And they've done it with regular movies too, where you think it's going to go one way and it's actually going to go another. Star Wars, Glass, a bunch of different other areas too. So.
Well, and when they shoot trailers, they only take certain footage, and that footage may not be included in the movie.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying Ned dying. I don't think that's happening.
Now, what I think could happen though, here's the theory. Because how many Spider-Man, as far as this is like his second one, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So if they're going to do the whole hero arc thing, and this is the hero arc that usually spans in one movie, but you can actually break it up into series too, like your 1s and 2s and 3s. After if their movie hit what's called a law of diminishing returns, which means like every movie after that you start to make less money, and Sony doesn't want to actually do that. What they're probably going to try to do is they're probably going to try to hit the third movie arc. The first movie arc was kind of like a half point, which is the Avengers when he jumped in there and run around a little bit. Then they had the Spider-Man movie, the regular one, the first one, and they actually recalled back to I believe it was some of the
Civil War.
Yeah, to Civil War. Okay, so that's really that whole thing. His introduction in the first movie is his first arc, which is kind of like the introduction. The second arc, which he actually takes things a bit seriously, he already had Tony dying, so that actually is going to play a factor into this second movie. I honestly believe it's actually going to take him down a peg further because remember, you've already skipped the part where the Uncle Ben dying, the traditional tropes for Spider-Man.
Right.
So there's usually probably going to be another death there. So it's either one of two things happening: either Aunt May is going to die, but that's a serious cut, or something may happen to Mary Jane. When they actually start to get really close and something actually happens, which sets them off for the third movie.
So that ties into these other two theories that you just started up.
Okay.
The other one of the theories is that MJ is Nick Fury's daughter.
No.
Now see, that is why I wanted to bring these up, because these people think that MJ, just because Zendaya happens to be brown, Nick Fury is black. I don't think it's his daughter. One, I don't even think the Nick Fury that we have is Nick Fury. Okay, so if there's a few people that are Skrulls, I think Nick Fury's one. And I know that
that's a separate thing, because that's the other thing people don't know about. They thought the Skrull thing was done because of Captain Marvel.
Oh, no.
So
Skrull's already done. That's too much, because you have to do Secret Invasion. That's why I think that Black Widow, that it was always been a Skrull, because Natasha didn't have any superpowers. So that means you don't need Super Skrull for that. You know what I'm saying? Now think about that. If she doesn't have
hair change in every movie.
Exactly. Well, and they can do that.
Yeah.
So
okay.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, she could just be a regular Skrull, and they don't need to have any. They don't need to use the Super Skrull for that, because only Super Skrulls are the ones that can mimic powers and stuff like that. So I think that by having Natasha as a Skrull, and possibly Nick Fury being a Skrull after Endgame, or some point he's taken over, and the Nick Fury that we know is somewhere off in space and doing something else in space. Because instead of being S.H.I.E.L.D., what was the name of his organization that he created after?
You talking about the one out in space?
Yeah, was it Sword? Yeah. So he's out in space doing something with Sword with Captain Marvel, because she's been non-factor basically in all the Marvel movies until you get more deeper into the cosmic stuff. And so I think that's where she's going with that, and that's where they're going with him, and then have him as a Skrull, and then have the Secret Invasion, starting with those two being announced as Skrulls.
But how's that going to play though? Because in the movie they already killed her off, sacrificed herself for the Soul Stone, can't come back from that.
Well, they still have souls, I think. I mean,
but why would a Skrull sacrifice himself though? It wouldn't really make sense, would it?
Maybe that Skrull had nothing else to live for. Maybe that Skrull tried pizza rolls once and was like, I'm done.
I hate you guys.
I've had Totino's. No more. I don't know.
Right.
Makes sense.
Well, all I'm saying is that could make sense, though, for that. I'm not saying that is exactly what it is, but I don't think MJ is Nick Fury's daughter. I don't think Nick Fury needs a daughter. Just because she's black and he's black.
I mean, if he had a daughter, do you really think he would fake his own death? Because remember, he faked his own death in...
But that's the thing.
Winter Soldier.
Yeah, Winter Soldier. Yeah.
I'd fake my death for you.
Maybe.
I would. No, I wouldn't pick a different name.
See, but Nick Fury's an odd cat anyway. So since he's that odd and that like protective of himself, I mean, he'll clone himself, which is I'm still pissed off that they have not touched that avenue as of yet. The whole point of Nick Fury is that the dude clones himself. You don't know if that's really Nick Fury or if it's actually one of his clones in the life model decoys. You touched it a little bit in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and didn't go that far with it. Highly disappointed that you didn't use that. And even with Patton Walton, or Patton, what's that other guy, heavy set, chubby guy?
Also, Patton Oswalt.
Patton Oswalt. They could have introduced it then, but they spin it off and said that they were actual twins because there were two separate ones. He split himself up, not split himself up. In the show, he shows up helping Coulson's team in one of the sections of one of the hidden bunkers in S.H.I.E.L.D. that Nick Fury had.
Okay.
And they helped him out, took him in, helped educate him, and he was mentioning something about like someone else, like his brother or something like that. And then the team actually flies off, I think, to the other side of the U.S. I think they're in L.A. or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the other brother pops out and actually helps him with like this like Mary Poppins umbrella that actually camouflages them to hide him from somebody. And he was like, hey, aren't you? What's the name? It was like, no, that's actually my brother. So I was like, it's like you could have just introduced life model decoys and that would have been so cool. But you know, if you're just concerned about ratings, you don't really care about the story. But
Not at all.
anyway, continue.
And then the last one that ties into what you said also is that Quentin Beck is Spider-Man from the future or from another dimension. That he changes his name because he knows who Peter Parker is because that's himself when he was younger. And so in order to disguise who he is and what his intentions are, is that he found out what Peter Parker in 616 does after Tony Stark dies, because in his universe, Tony Stark's still alive, and that he wanted to get the Stark tech because he knows that his other self in the Marvel universe that we know of, he takes that and goes on a rampage, and he's trying to stop him from becoming evil.
Okay.
So that one is like,
but
So the Quentin Beck, who does that remind me again?
it's Mysterio.
Yeah.
Oh, duh. Yeah. Okay.
So they're trying to say that Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio is really Peter Parker.
Then why would he
change
why
his
would
name?
he be Mysterio then? Why
Exactly.
How can you be Peter? How can you be Spider-Man and Mysterio? You can't do that. You can't be Spider-Man and Mysterio.
Well,
They could always twist the writing that way. It's just that will the writing actually be good if you do that?
well,
Exactly.
Well, now
You gotta
here's,
think about that, like-
here's the other side of the coin for that theory, and I think a lot of people were jumping on this train is because Sony has been in talks with Marvel to do a live-action Spider-Verse. And that fat kid we were at Target who helped us try to find Rusty Cops, he's the one who mentioned and who started talking about it.
Yeah.
He started talking about it, and I was like, wait
Because
a second.
they posted Into the Spider-Verse's Twitter, when Far From Home was announced, like when the first trailer came out, they posted a picture of Miles and Gwen, I think. I could be wrong. I haven't been on Twitter in a while. But they posted a picture and it was see you in another dimension. And then it was a number 2.
Well, and so this live action Into the Spider-Verse that they're talking about is going to be Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland.
Why?
All three
So
people who
bad.
played Spider-Man. So that's why that doesn't give that theory any credence, but it kind of goes along with some things that they've been trying to talk about with Spider-Man.
Right.
So would that kind of make sense that Jake Gyllenhaal was going to be Spider-Man instead of Tobey Maguire because Tobey Maguire was not being there was an issue with his contract with Columbia Pictures, which is Sony, and instead he was on standby. So if Tobey wasn't going to be able to do it, then Jake Gyllenhaal was supposed to be Peter Parker. So is it possible that they have all these different Spider-Man and they're trying to put him into the mix because he didn't get to be Spider-Man? I don't think so.
Right.
But I do think that there is something with his character being in there. Possibly his character knew Peter Parker in his dimension.
Right.
And he knows what Peter Parker's capable of.
Right.
And that's why he does it. That's even if he's from another dimension, which I don't necessarily believe. I don't buy it. I don't buy that they're going to open up the door to this, that there's another dimension that he's from, another timeline, and that they're doing that. I don't buy it. I don't buy it because it's too cheap. It's being done in a cheap manner that you're just throwing that in there automatically just to because it's not going to work correctly.
I think they're doing it just to be able to test the waters and see what people react to it. And if it's
I'll watch it.
Like if everyone reacts favorably to that, and like yeah, we want a Spider-Verse, because they've been trying to get people to get into the Spider-Verse thing altogether.
Yeah,
it's just they never really been able to do it full bore like they have the opportunity to do it now. Now that the Avengers run, at least the first leg of it, is actually done for the moment, and they're going to be taking a breather. They want to fill that spot and say, okay, why don't we just go ahead and try to introduce some Spider-Verse stuff, put the theory out there, let people see if they'll actually bite it. If they bite it, yeah, we'll go ahead and put the money towards it, but if they don't bite it, we'll just go ahead and be satisfied with our 3 movies and see what else we can actually dig up. By the way, on a side note, Black Cat and Silver Sable, no thank you. That's not a movie I'm trying to see. That actually supposed to be the next movie that you're supposed to be coming out with.
Why?
Thank you. Why? But
I don't like Silver Sable.
Yeah, it's just because they saw the Wonder Woman thing and they probably thought women's empowerment and different things like that. No shade against that. That's perfectly fine if that's what you want to do.
Way better characters that you could throw into a movie together instead of Silver Sable and Black Cat.
Exactly, but they want to try to.
They're side pieces too.
Right, but that's the thing. It's like, I'll put it like this: if you're playing cards, you don't want to play your best cards right away. You want to try to throw out your other cards so that way you can save your big cards for later when
They're already doing a Morbius movie, so why in the
I've
world
been waiting for a Sinister Six movie to come out.
Yeah, you're going to continue to wait because that's a major playing card for them.
That would be
No, I think that at the end. Okay, so by introducing Mysterio into the mix, you're seeing the beginnings of Sinister Six. At some point in Far From Home, I imagine they're going to cut back to New York, and you're going to see Stark Tower being operated by Oscorp now. They take down the Stark Tower. It's not Avengers Tower anymore or anything like that.
Yeah,
it's going to be Oscorp.
Yeah.
Boom. That then you have no choice but to introduce Sinister Six after that.
okay. So
Just saying. I'm
did
just
a little
saying.
digging on Twitter. 2 things. 1, if you haven't seen Into the Spider-Verse, it's coming to Netflix on Tuesday. And 2, I found the picture and I was wrong. It was the picture of when Kingpin was throwing Peter. No, it was Green Goblin when he was putting Peter into the collider that they had.
Yeah.
And it's that picture, and it says "See you in another dimension," and then it's got the peace sign and then the spider. So it could either be a peace sign or a 2. Don't really know, but
Well, at the end of Into the Spider-Verse, Gwen is like, "Hey, Miles," and then
see you around.
yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously they're gonna make a sequel to that because that movie
Yeah.
made a lot of money and it was a great movie.
But will it be animated or will it be live action? And will it have Tom Holland Peter Parker or will it have our Jake Johnson Peter Parker?
I think it'll start off animated and I think it'll go into live action. Why
That
not?
would be an amazing movie.
That would be an amazing movie.
Why
And
not?
see,
And then
they have the
towards
power to do
end-
that, too.
Towards the end of it, that's what goes into the live action Spider-Man. Just saying.
Then have Jake Johnson and Tom Holland meet.
Just don't bring Spider-Ham into the live action because that's going to be too weird.
Oh god,
Yeah. As much as I love John Mulaney,
Becca would be so sad if that happened.
because like you can ruin a character so easily by bringing him into live action.
Listen.
Like
Unless you did it like Cool World or Roger Rabbit style.
No, they're going to do it weird like Howard the Duck.
oh my god. See, like if they like Venom, if they did not when they made Spider-Man 3,
Just made me think of
they
all that
did
stuff
not
happened in the
have-
80s.
they did not have
The bestiality
resources.
people?
They did not have the resources. Moving on from bestiality,
Wise move, young one.
they
Continue.
they did not have the power to make Venom good back in 2000. When did Spider-Man 3 come out? Like the 2008 or
I try to forget that movie existed.
exactly because
Yeah.
they made Venom or whatever they were trying to make Venom.
That's
that
when
movie.
the black suit Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing good about that movie
Garbage.
was Sandman's sympathetic character, but then and that was Thomas Jane. That
Who else did
played
they bring in? They brought in Sandman, Venom,
That was it. It was just those two.
Are you sure?
From
Green Goblin. They brought in
Oh god, yeah, that kid sucked as Green Goblin.
Harry Osborn as Green Goblin.
Yeah.
And then they tried to redo Green Goblin and the Amazing Spider-Man, and it was just god awful too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would go.
And they never got the Hobgoblin, so I mean, but why would you bother?
Too much.
Anyway. So anyway, still want to see Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin though. I need to see that.
They need to keep
For
him as
Spider-Man.
Kingpin. No,
Just Kingpin period and have him reoccurring in different stuff.
yes,
Because he's a Kingpin.
yes.
Just have him be like for instance, remember how Tony Stark was popping up in all the Avengers, most of the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in he started off in what was it, the Hulk? Like after the Hulk movie,
Yeah.
he came around was basically telling General Ross like, "Hey, I told you about that stuff. I rely on tech." So
Then that's what we need is another villain that is overarching, but then doesn't do necessarily bad. So that's why I think that the next person that they bring in that you don't know if he's good or bad. Well, we know he's good. We know if he's bad is Norman Osborn. And because we know Norman Osborn's bad,
Right.
or his intentions are generally pretty bad.
yeah,
But I think that that's who they bring in as the next overarching villain,
right.
and he manipulates stuff. Because then you can also bring in Fantastic Four, and then that goes into the
Right.
same thing that I said that.
Which DC had the opportunity to do that with Lex Luthor, but
No.
then they,
Then they used Jesse Eisenberg, and that just made it horrible.
See, I love Jesse Eisenberg,
No,
but
no,
I hated
no,
him
no,
in
no,
Batman
in
vs
this
He was
Superman.
horrible.
I liked Jesse Eisenberg, but I hated him in Batman vs Superman. I don't even know if he was in Justice League because I didn't watch it because it was god
Listen,
awful.
he asked me. We were in Target. He asked me, "Dad, would you rather die in your sleep or watch Justice League?" And I was like, "Die in my sleep."
Because like
I don't want to watch Justice League.
Batman vs Superman was the Civil War of
No, it wasn't.
DC. That's what it was intended to be. But they in the end it was so bad because I was actually really excited for that movie. I was like, oh sweet, because like
That was the French and Indian War of Civil War.
I was excited because I was like, oh, we get to see Batman and then we get to see Superman.
Yeah.
And then they announced that Ben Affleck.
Wait, your mom's Martha too? Oh no, he can't die. That's
I know, and then
right.
one,
After that
the first problem
lost
with
me.
that movie, Ben Affleck is
Martha.
Batman.
Yeah.
I hate Ben Affleck. I cannot stand him.
True statement.
And he doesn't play a good Batman.
He doesn't play a good anything.
I know. And the second thing wrong with that movie was they brought Wonder Woman in for no apparent reason. Like, she was she was not supposed to be in that movie. It was supposed to be Batman and then Superman, and they were supposed to brawl. That's what that movie I wish was, but then they brought Doomsday in, and then they brought Wonder Woman in, and then Superman died, and I was like, cool, we're done with Superman. And then they brought him back. Like, you can't have someone die and then bring him back, because then they just like I was upset. I was like, oh, Superman's dead, that sucks.
Well, because they tried to tie in way too many movies into one movie.
I know, and that's their problem. If DC could just slow down.
No, if DC can just stop and just make animated movies, we'd all be okay.
Batman the Killing Joke. Or Joker Face Off. I want Joker Face Off movie.
Yeah, I don't think they're going there.
That would be awesome.
Oh no, their animated movies go dark. I mean, yeah, the Justice League dark.
Yeah.
Suicide
That was
Squad.
more like an experiment to see if it'll go.
Suicide Squad.
But they
Hell,
tend to take more risks in their animated movies that pay off
Right.
than they do with their live action ones.
Right. And I agree. And the reason why I agree is because really the benchmark for that was Justice League and Justice League Unlimited because of how dark they actually went in some of their episodes. And people are like, yes, this is what we want. Can we get more, please?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, let's think about it.
One of my favorite DC movies, animated movies, is Suicide Squad: Hell to Pay. That movie was great. Now, if they would make another Suicide Squad movie like that,
Really?
have you watched it?
I'm gonna have to watch it now.
It's
'cause I have
great.
the DC app, so
I would not watch it around your wife or your daughter.
Oh, they don't watch that
It's
stuff.
pretty
They
bad.
don't care about stuff I care about. So.
But yes, it was amazing. I really liked
Nor do
it.
I. Well,
Batman the Killing Joke, that was another amazing movie too.
I didn't care for, like, the only thing I didn't care for that movie was who did Joker's voice.
Yeah.
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 I mean, when you have Bender doing it,
Because all you hear is Bender.
yeah,
Yeah.
or Marcus Phoenix, and it's like, can you just pay Mark Hamill?
Mark Hamill would play.
Mark Hamill's like, give me all the money.
You should have done it because it would have been great. Not that he didn't do, not that what's his name didn't do a good job.
Right.
It's just that when I hear his voice, I automatically think Bender. And
Yeah. And we watch a lot of Futurama. So.
yes,
Yes.
so that makes it suck.
But overall, it was a really good movie. I really liked it. The story was awesome.
Cool. What else you got here?
We'll go on to one of yours because this
Okay.
other one this topic is.
It's heavy.
Yeah.
All right. So, let's see. In my avenue, I ran across. Of course, like I said, we just went through E3. Gave everybody a breather, let them relax their palates a little bit, and so now that their palates have been thoroughly quenched, now we can get it dirty again because guess what? Disney tones down the violence in Star Wars games. One of the things we liked from E3 was the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, that video game. To me, I like what they showed right off the bat because I assumed that there was actually more in the actual trailer, but if come to find out, there wasn't really much in the actual trailer, and I was looking for there to be more playthroughs and different things like that.
Yeah.
And I noticed that there wasn't, and I started digging a little bit, trying to figure out why. And this is actually why. I actually have an article here from thegamer.com. The title of it is called "Disney Tones Down Violence on Star Wars Games, No Dismemberment." Then I was like, wait, no dismemberment. Then I remembered, I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, in Star Wars movies, there always was dismemberment when you come to lightsabers and cutting off limbs and different things like that.
Yeah.
And different things like that.
Even in the 80s movies,
Yeah.
there were.
Yeah. It kind of comes with the territory. Like you cut off a limb and different stuff happens. So this is what I actually found in the article. It says the violence in Star Wars: The Jedi Fallen Order is being toned down due to Disney and the game. Therefore, let's see. Yeah, let me say this again. The violence in Star Wars: Jedi Fallen Order is being toned down due to Disney, and the game therefore won't have any features of dismemberment. Fans were a little less than pleased in EA's E3 segment featuring during the game, as it felt that the bits of the gameplay presented felt drab and uninteresting. While it's hard to say what it will mean for the final product, it does seem that the corporate overlords now in control of Star Wars property may have done something to do with the game's tonal censorship.
Yeah, we ain't getting it. We're not gonna
Bring
get it.
the developers of The Force Unleashed back. That's all I have to say. That's all I have to say.
If
That would
you're
be
hitting
nice.
someone with a lightsaber, you're not hitting them with a butter knife.
Right.
And you're not killing them with a butter knife.
And
You're killing stormtroopers. And when you kill them with a lightsaber, it goes through them and it's no dismemberment.
The sad thing is, it even shows the burn marks on their
on their corpses,
yes.
they're dead.
They are dead, and it shows the burn marks on their armor where they would have cut through. But Disney is like, oh, we need to appeal to all these younger kids.
Let your kids play.
How old was I when I first started playing The Force Unleashed?
I don't know.
I still lived here.
I don't know. But you were okay playing
Exactly.
That stuff,
So
you knew it's a game.
Exactly. So if your kid cannot tell the difference between a game and real
Mhm.
life, and they try to run around cutting people up with their lightsabers,
First of all, if you get your kid a real lightsaber, kudos to you as a parent.
And I need your number because I need that license.
yeah.
Thank you.
If your kid is trying to run around slicing people with lightsabers, they don't need one.
Good call.
Yeah.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
I think the whole thing with EA and Star Wars is like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Because I read that they're not putting loot boxes in the new Star Wars, the Fallen Order.
Yeah.
But they're putting no. But they're putting surprise mechanics.
There's no multiplayer to the game, is there?
It doesn't matter.
Hold
They're
on, I
trying
gotta
to
look at
they're trying to monetize
Yeah.
as much as they can. So what that means is you're gonna pay for special outfits
Mhm.
for the character.
Right. Cosmetics.
And stuff that doesn't have anything to do with gameplay, doesn't enhance, but they want that money. So you say it with me, kids. Monday.
The Monday. Cheese, grummet cheese.
Right here it says Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order won't have multiplayer or microtransactions.
Yeah. But
Yeah. See, it says So why? What's the need for those surprise mechanics?
No, it's loot box.
Right. So,
Exactly.
But there's some more into that. That actually leads me to the next article, which says EA rebranding of loot boxes, known now as surprise mechanics. And I use air quotes, surprise mechanics.
Surprise mechanics is just a fancy term for loot boxes, which is just a fancy term for microtransactions.
Indeed. And here's what I actually found an article from the same place. It's called thegamer.com. I actually had a link in the description below. Let's see, it says EA rebranding of loot boxes known as surprise mechanics. Kerry Hopkins, EA's VP of Legal and Government Affairs, said that the company's randomized purchases are not in any way considered as loot boxes, but instead are surprise mechanics. Say it with me, children, surprise mechanics.
This is the same thing. This is the same.
Speaking at evidence session with the UK Parliament's Digital Culture, Media and Sports Committee, Hopkins was bold enough to compare the mechanics to surprise toys, which have been in circulation for years in the form of Kinder Eggs, Hatchimals, or Lol Surprise. The company, while ridiculous and wildly inaccurate, is not surprising once in a time when everyone wants to ensure that they can get their consumer base addicted to gambling style mechanics.
Oh, but EA is adamant that loot boxes aren't gambling.
Because terminology is important. Because if you say loot boxes, everyone knows what loot boxes are, including the government, which is currently trying to get legislation against you. However, if you change the name of it and you change the definition, they got to start the whole legalization process all over again to try to include that name. So that's the reason why they're trying to dodge that bullet. And while they're trying to dodge the bullet, they're trying to secure the bag.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
So this is the same thing that EA did with Anthem. They said, oh, there's not going to be any loot boxes in here, but you can still pay for cosmetics and surprise mechanics.
No, the whole surprise about Anthem was that they actually got suckers to pay for that game.
Yeah, I can't believe I played that.
It's free, sort of.
No, I when the beta came out, I played it for like 20 minutes, and I was like, "What the heck am I?"
Well,
playing?
the sad thing with that game is everybody was so excited for it. It looked the game like when I started it, it looked amazing.
Yeah, it looked amazing.
The game was it actually wasn't that bad until I found out what was happening with the game, and what I found out was once people started up Anthem, within the first week or two that it was out, it was bricking their PS4s.
Ooh.
Not only, just the PS4s, not the Xboxes or anything else. I think it was just on PS4.
No, it was bricking everything.
It was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, though. When they because they use Frostbite for that, when then they realized that Frostbite engine doesn't have a third-person perspective, and they had to actually build that into the game. So this is one reason why Fallen Order uses Unreal Engine and not Frostbite. So, because Frostbite does not allow for third-person viewing. It's a first-person only engine.
Hence Battlefield.
Hence Battlefront.
Battlefront runs on dice.
No, Battlefront runs on Frostbite.
Here we go to the internet.
DICE is the developer who made it. DICE uses Frostbite. Dude, FIFA, it runs on Frostbite.
Yes,
Madden runs on Frostbite.
Yeah, it does.
What else? The Dragon Age games, Frostbite. Everything that EA does uses their proprietary gaming engine, which is Frostbite,
True.
with the exception of Jedi Fallen Order, which uses Unreal Engine 4, which had me believing that, oh, maybe they could put that on Nintendo Switch. But
Oh yeah, you're right. It does.
So-
but you can go third person in that game. In Battlefront, I think it's all third person actually.
But it's not built for that. They had to actually build that into that engine.
So,
it wasn't made.
It wasn't native. For it.
Yes, it wasn't made for that. That's why they struggled in Anthem.
Yeah.
Like they had to build that into the engine for it to work.
Gotcha. Wow. So,
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
yeah. So outside that, anyway, we already know it's EA, so it's got loot boxes, but now the loot boxes are called surprise mechanics. So now you can avoid the new term called surprise mechanics.
Hey, it's like their old saying.
Right.
EA Sports. It's in the game.
If you pay for it. Again and again and again and again
Oh
and
my
again.
gosh, that's why I've not bought a Madden game since NFL 2K was out. Seriously, I
mean, they're
refused.
all the same game, really.
You're like all those people who pay for Madden. You're idiots, and I don't mean that in the wrongest way. But I mean that if you have no competition, they have no means to make that game any better. And the fact that you pay $60 for the same game every year, with the only thing different they added is now some of the guys in the crowd, you can see they painted their chest.
Right.
I don't care about that. I don't even watch football anymore because I hate the NFL. But, I mean, ugh.
Yeah, all you're doing is you're paying for the same sprites, just reskinned.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but that's up to you. If that's your thing, that's what you do. It's not a problem because if you're a sports fanatic, then you'll be down for anything sports mechanic related. Which brings me to another question of this pricing of it. I believe the pricing of most of the sports games actually get really cheap, like after a year. So,
well, yeah, because it's
after a couple months.
Yeah,
right.
Like halfway through the season, you can always get a sports game,
right?
Like half off. Yeah.
NBA 2K19 was just $3.
Well, it has a bunch of loot boxes in it too.
Yeah.
Real quick, that's the reason why it's how much?
$3.
That's the reason why.
Yeah.
That's literally almost a free play.
Yeah.
But you're still making. They're still gonna make money off it because people are still playing it. Wow. So anyway, keeping that off, that is what I have on my docket for the moment. We have some more video game things. One of the things I wanted to talk about was Cyberpunk 2077.
Yes.
I know it's not coming out till next year, but I basically did a little bit of digging, found out some very interesting mechanics going on with the game itself. The Keanu surprise was actually a pleasant surprise. I like seeing that in there, and I like seeing that he's actually in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of curious to figure out what his role actually was. So,
Johnny Silverhands, I think.
Is it? Yeah,
Something like that.
So, from what I found out, it looks like he is actually the whole premise of the game is that you're the player, and half of your mechanic is human, the other half is literally mechanic, not mechanic, but like Android, where you can actually have chipsets and different stuff in your brain, and based on whatever, like remember in the Matrix where Neo was saying, "Hey, I know Kung Fu now," because it actually got downloaded in the back of his brain. Yeah. That's kind of the same equivalent for Cyberpunk, because this guy has a chip that's inside of his head that allows him to do different things.
There's all these augmentations,
right?
Kind of like Deus Ex.
Right. So, one of the things is that when he actually gets killed, he gets brought back to life again. When normally everyone else that gets killed or gets their brain fried or something like that because they got hacked in the side of their mind, they don't come back. They're actually dead. But in his case, he constantly pops back up, and one of the people who pops him back up is Keanu Reeves, because it's actually like the digital version in his mind that wakes him up and say, "Hey,
Cortana.
Right. Hey, samurai, you gotta get back up and get back in the game." And it reboots him back up, and he's waking up, and people are like, "Dude, I thought I killed you." So it's that mechanic. I thought that was actually really cool, really interesting. So I wanted to actually bring that to the table and bring it up for discussion. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Or if you're excited about it?
Cyberpunk has had my attention since it got announced at E3 2017. Right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, because that was the same year that they announced Death Stranding.
Still don't know anything about that game.
I'm
so
excited.
No.
Side note, Death Stranding is going to be amazing.
Okay, so they
wait.
showed so much about that game, and everyone who every YouTuber I watched that, they're like, I don't know what we're watching.
Well,
right.
Hideo,
so there's no way to spoil that game.
Hideo Kojima.
I don't think he knows what's going on.
He said that there's no way to find out what's going on in that game until you play it. And so did Norman Reedus. And I'm just so excited for that game. I cannot wait to unpack whatever is in the Death Stranding world. And
I don't.
Little tangent.
I want to play it because I like Hideo Kojima.
Right. And it's going to be amazing.
But I just don't know what I'm watching. Because I don't understand, what are the babies for? Are they real babies? Or
I do know what that is. That the baby that Sam, the character that you play as, is carrying is it's like the new generation.
So it's an actual human that he's carrying with him. Okay, that's kind of.
But he has it in an incubation tank. I did read something.
Born yet?
Yeah, it's born. I think.
Is it born from him?
No, I don't think so.
Because that part creeped me out. Cause I'm gonna be honest. It was
Because
like,
in the
dude,
very first
Oh
trailer,
yeah, where it shows like the baby coming out. It's like, where is that baby coming from?
yes.
I remember.
Oh wow, it's the future. You know, I don't like when they say that they can't handle having babies. No,
I do remember the very
No.
the very first E3
Be
trailer.
the first and
that
last
they
stand to
showed.
ever have a baby.
No.
The very first E3 trailer that they showed for Death Stranding was the invisible baby that was crawling around in the oil.
Oh yeah.
And then they showed the 5 things up in the sky that are the Death Stranding.
Right.
That
Those
is,
are the creatures.
Right.
yeah, well, we don't know what they are, but that is Death Stranding.
Well, I thought they were like demons or something like that.
I don't know. I just know that they are the Death Stranding.
But then they introduced what's his name's character.
Matt-
Yeah, like when they showed him and like he was like smoking and then like he threw the cigarette butt to the fire, then he was burning and then all these other dudes popped up and I'm like, that is really cool, but what the heck is going on?
Obviously, he knows something about the black stuff, and it's all like, yeah, I got control over this.
But I think he's dead.
Mads Mikkelsen?
Yeah, I think his
Yeah.
character's dead.
And
Or maybe he's partly dead.
or maybe half of the black stuff is already inside of him. He found a way to coexist with it.
It's like in Princess Bride. Turns out your friend's only mostly dead.
I do know a couple more things about that game.
Yes.
Is once you when you die, it creates a huge crater in the ground, and that will mark like where you died, and like they do not go away throughout the entire time you play the game.
Jeez, there'd be a ton of craters.
Exactly, and then they said that the enemies in that game, like even if you play on a normal difficulty, they're gonna be unforgiving, and they you have they are like that. They look almost like they're just like black creatures that come at you, and then you have your bike that you can pull out of your bag or whatever, and then you can pick up.
But I just like you seemed unsure of that. Like,
I think because when I watched the trailer, he like pulled the bike off of his back and then he.
Because he's
set
got
up or
this like
whatever.
massive backpack, don't he? Does
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I mean,
fine.
it is the future too, so
Right.
like you could easily set something down and then click a button. But yeah, so I do know that game, and he said that it plays a little bit like Metal Gear. So,
That's cool.
but I'm really excited for that game. What were we talking? Cyberpunk, yeah. Keanu Reeves and Cyberpunk.
Yeah. So Keanu Reeves in Cyberpunk, I thought it was awesome.
Oh yeah, everything about Cyberpunk looks cool to me.
Right. So the next thing I wanted to bring up was Legion. Legion is actually a TV show that's on FX. Let's see. The show actually deals with. If you're familiar with X-Men, and you're familiar with Professor X, the leader of the X-Men.
Yeah, it's the son.
Right. Legion, if for those who don't know, Legion is actually Professor X's son.
He didn't want him because he's crazy.
Yeah, well, this guy has. Okay, imagine if you're a mutant, but you have multiple personality disorder, right? The only thing is that the multiple personality disorder that's associated with this mutant actually all has separate
Mutant
characters, traits, characteristics, and superpowers. And it also impersonates different genders too. And this is all translated in his mind where he thinks he actually is a woman or a man or an animal or something else that's actually going on. It all has these different mutant abilities that's actually associated with it. So yeah, a toaster. It wouldn't surprise me because he's went through the gambit of just. If you read the comics, you know what I'm talking about. It went through just the gambit of all these different things. And yes, and his name is David. So it's a very weird and trippy show. It's actually on FX. It's actually in its 3rd season right now.
It's on Hulu.
Yeah, I think it is.
Oh, I'd tell you
I
who's
think
in
it
that
is.
show.
So,
One of my favorite actresses is in that show.
you're talking about Audrey?
Aubrey
yeah.
Plaza.
Audrey Plaza. Because it's
Aubrey Plaza.
Audrey. So, outside of that, she's awesome in the show. She plays one of the personalities that he's trying to deal with, and eventually she gets separated out of David and actually folds into basically another character. So basically, her personality now is fused with another person. So it's a really trippy. It has a lot to do with like time travel and time jumps. So if you're familiar with Quentin Tarantino and how he likes to cut his movies in certain areas, so it's not in linear alignment, the show deals with the same stuff. It starts off in alignment, and then it actually starts to jump around a bit. And I think it does that a lot in season 2.
It does that in the first episode, man. I was just like, what am I watching?
Yeah, it's one of those things where you have to watch it all the way through in order to get a really good handle on everything. But if you're looking for something weird and interesting into getting into, I would suggest that. It's actually going to be starting up again in June 24th.
Isn't this the last season?
And it is the last season. So if you want to binge through like the first couple seasons, or actually just the first season, see if you like it. And if you like it, just go ahead and watch the rest of the season. You'll be ready for season 3, which starts on June 24th. And today's 23rd, so that would make it tomorrow that it actually starts to come out. So I would recommend that. I have to link in the description below if you want to go ahead and check it out. Like I said, it's a really awesome show. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll actually put probably the trailer for it in YouTube and a few other places too if you want to actually check it out.
Like, the only Marvel show that I've watched was probably Cloak and Dagger, and I like that, so...
Did you?
Yeah.
I've got through like a couple episodes of it, but I haven't really gotten through as of yet.
Once you get farther in the show, it gets more intense,
interesting.
and it definitely gets more interesting.
Nice.
I really liked it.
Nice. So that's all I actually have on mind. What you got here? You got anything more on your end?
Yeah, so 2 things. The one thing I want to talk about, piggybacking on the whole Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah.
There was, so one of my favorite YouTubers posted up a video about, his name's Yang Ye. And highly recommend his show. His channel is really good. And he loves Cyberpunk 2077 and a lot of what CD Projekt Red does. But apparently there's an outlet called Rock Paper Shotgun, and they had this controversy about how the creators of Cyberpunk 2077, that the guy who created it used racist stereotypes. Mainly in one of the gangs, the first gang that you kind of run into, that they showed in the trailer, they're the Animals, and that they use some type of juice to make them stronger, faster, louder, and I get that they're trying to say that, calling, and the gang is mostly made up of black people.
Okay.
But the leader of the gang is called Sasquatch, which is a white woman. So okay. And then that the creator also there's another gang, the Voodoo Boys, so made up of black people, and they use voodoo.
Right.
And they claim that the creator of the game didn't know how to make non-white characters, how to handle non-white characters.
Okay.
Well, here's the problem with who the creator is. And I just want you to see what the creator of the game looks like. Because when you see this, you're going to be like, shut the front door.
Oh my god.
Well.
So, Mike Pondsmith happens to be the creator of Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah.
It is a tabletop RPG game.
Right.
And he happens to be African American, black.
True.
So, you're going to say that the creator of this game, who is a black man, is racist against blacks.
That sounds a bit like a stretch.
So so a lot of people are outraged, and they continue to double down on this fact, saying that Cyberpunk 27 has horrible gunplay, all this stuff about anyone who pre-orders the game is an idiot, or they're dumb for pre-ordering the game because it doesn't have any extras. Well, when Cyberpunk 2077 released, when CD Projekt Red released The Witcher 3, they gave maps, stickers, CDs, like a CD of all the music in the game, when they released the original Witcher 3. So one thing that they did with that was leaked before Cyberpunk 2077, before the new game was released, or is being released, they showed that it's going to basically have the same stuff. You're going to have an overmap of the whole world, some music, the music from the game, some stickers like the shirt that Keanu Reeves had on. Remember we were talking about? You're like, that shirt is real dope. And so it had some stickers and stuff that had that logo on it. So there's like it's coming with all this stuff. There's no reason for a deluxe edition or anything like that
Right.
because there's no DLC yet.
Right.
They said that will come later on.
Right.
And just same thing that they did with The Witcher 3. There
Yeah.
was a bunch of DLCs that happened. You know, like you buy. I think if you bought the pass,
Right.
you got everything.
Right.
So there's no reason to have an edition other than maybe one that comes with like a statue or something crazy.
Right.
There'll be 2 editions. Standard edition that comes with all the stuff I mentioned.
Right.
And probably a way more expensive one that comes with
There's
like,
a collector's edition.
okay, yeah, and that's probably coming with like a statue.
Like an Xbox or you have to buy it like with a it's a console bundle.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, then there you
Well,
go.
there you go.
So, but I wouldn't buy
I
a
just saw
console bundle. I don't see
Right.
a need to do that with
Right.
new systems getting ready to come out anyway.
Right.
But the fact that they're doubling down on this in this game and just saying all this crap just goes to show that like why are you trying to say that the creator of the game is racist when he's black?
There are black people in the game.
Because there's two
It's like faux outrage.
there's 2 reasons why. One reason why, well, I'll put it like this. One aspect could say, okay, I see he's a black guy, but who says he grew up in a black neighborhood and grew up around black people? That's one aspect of it. That aspect being put to the side, they're doing it for mostly just to be contrary. Because remember, we talked about that before, where if everybody's actually saying, yes, this is a cool thing, you're always going to have somebody that says, no, this isn't. And the reason why they do it is because it's clickbait. We want you to click on this. If everybody's agreeing with it, why on God's green earth would you actually say, no, I'm against it, unless you're trying to get those clicks? It's because if you get those clicks, you get people looking at your page, that actually looks to advertisers like, hey, people are clicking on my page because I got something important to say. You need to pay me so that way you can advertise your stuff.
You know, what is such a horrible way to get like
Of course.
to create controversy. Not to say that like that someone who's non white
Right.
can't be racist.
Right.
Not to get into any politics of anything like
Right.
that. Candace Owens, but but there's to have this faux outrage
Yeah.
that the creator, and I think a lot of people didn't realize
Right.
that Mike Pondsmith was black.
Of course, because most people don't do research.
Exactly.
So-
So then I think when they got busted out that Mike Pondsmith's black, then
Right.
they're like, oh, well, no, this game is really bad now. I don't like this game. That's so stupid. I don't know. I'm gonna get the game. It has nothing to do with the creator. I had no idea. I didn't care if he was black. He could have been whatever color.
Right.
Didn't matter to me.
Right.
The game looks sweet, and Keanu Reeves is in it. So,
Right.
like I like games where like one you can create your own character.
Right.
So like, and another thing that I really liked about this game is that you not only can you create a guy, but like because of all the cybernetic enhancements and all the augmentations,
Yeah.
you know, there are people who are transgender who might want to play this game,
Right.
and they want to create a character that matches who they are.
True.
Cool. I enjoy that. I embrace that. Not that I'm gonna do that.
Right.
I'm gonna make a black character who looks like me, so that way, if I can take a selfie shot with Keanu Reeves, I'm gonna put it up on Instagram. Like, look, me and Keanu being cool. So that's my plan for the game. But
Right.
why create this controversy that doesn't exist? Because there is none.
Right.
The main. Okay, so I don't know if you guys have watched the 48 minutes of gameplay that they put out back in February. I want to say.
Yeah, I watched it.
You
Where
watched
they
it?
it was
They have to save the girl, and then they V and Jackie
Yeah.
infiltrate that one place, and they have to save the
Yeah.
girl. And then it
that was
basically
dope.
I know, and it takes you through just. I don't think it was the very first mission. I think it was a mission throughout the game.
It wouldn't have mattered, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and then it shows all the driving mechanics, and it shows what Night City actually looks like. But Jackie, the character that V is alongside with in those 48 minutes of gameplay, is a mixed guy. He is a mixed, and they were talking about how the character or the creator is racist. Why would they have a mixed guy playing along the main character of the game? It makes no sense.
No,
If he was racist, it would be a white guy.
Yeah. But you can make your own characters, so
Yeah.
yeah, there's that. So
I mean, I'm honestly really excited for the game, and like it seems like, and that was I think I read something with one of the developers of the game was one of their goals was to make it a very diverse game.
Yeah, no,
like
no,
extremely diverse.
And it's one that's going to take you forever to beat.
Oh yeah, they said the story is so long.
And the city is huge, so you don't open up everything immediately.
It's basically a 2019 Skyrim.
How many versions of Skyrim have I bought? Jesus.
Yeah, that's a lot of them. And I'm pretty sure they're heading down the same vein. One of the things I also wanted to ask too, actually just bring up, was the Watch Dogs. The Watch Dogs Legion.
I am looking forward to that.
I am looking forward
and
to that.
You know what got me looking forward to that?
What is that?
That old white lady that you can play with. Yes, you knew exactly what I'm talking about. She walked into the guy.
She just walks right up on him.
Done, sold. Take my money. Take my money.
Better be good. So, but yeah, that actually, the whole mechanic of just literally picking anyone.
Yeah.
And actually being able to recruit them, and literally anyone you see is actually recruitable.
And that they changed the story.
And then I'm super excited for that.
And if they die, then like
they're permanent deaths.
Yeah, it's permadeath. So if you recruit, let's say you recruit like that one, the one guy who was former MI6.
Yeah.
And like you go through a couple missions with him, and his storyline is like getting added to everything.
Yeah.
And he dies in one of the missions.
Yeah.
He's gone. So you can't use him again. And I don't know how many MI6 and former MI6 agents are in the game, but I'm pretty sure it's very slim. So you better be pretty good with MI6 agents.
See, this is so like me going through Watch Dogs 2. It's a very stealthy game. Watch Dogs is, and this adding the whole permadeath to this is gonna make it 10 times harder for me at least. I don't know about you guys.
No, make it more careful.
I am guns blazing type of person.
Nope, not me. I know you are from playing Ghost Recon Wildlands. So listen, no. I want to explain this. So we're playing Ghost Recon Wildlands, right?
Yeah.
And we're going through a mission. I was like, look, son, when we're doing this, we're going in pretty stealthy. He's like, all right, Dad, I'm cool. And then like he goes in and he gets shot like with the and he's bleeding out. He's like, help me. I'm like, nah, nigga, you shouldn't have ran in there. That's why you don't do that. Listen, I play stealth. That's like so some of the other friends I played with when we would play The Division.
Yeah.
And like so when I played The Division, when you have your squad with you, you're like, all right, who's the tank? Who's long range? Who's the healer? Who does what, right? I'm always a sniper when I'm playing because I want to play in the background.
Right.
And I want to make sure that I'm taking out people, and that's the best way to stay away from the fray. Because you can pick off people and then you can see everything that's going on and tell people, hey, someone's coming behind you. Someone's coming up on your side. I got him.
Right.
But this man just wants to run in guns blazing. And you can't always do that when it's just two of you. Just two of you, you can't do that.
Now, hold on, listen. I will say, I want to defend myself here for a second. I will say, in playing Ghost Recon with Dad, I have given him multiple opportunities to be the sniper, and he has failed me. Like, that one time we were doing that mission where you had to infiltrate the, what are the purple guys' names? I can't remember.
The one where we're in a plane and you're like, sorry, Dad, jump out! Parachute tickets. Just jump out the airplane. He was like, where are you, Dad? I'm like, I'm still on the plane. Where are you? And I look down and I can see his parachute opening. And I'm like, for real though? Like, that's what we're doing right now?
Oh, nephew, you can't leave him like that, man. So, but anyway, the Watch Dogs thing, the thing that got me good about it is, like I said, like you can pick any character. You can have an army of people that are recruiting. The more I actually started looking into this, the more I was like, wait a minute, there's a reason why I like this. And then it actually dawned on me, I was like, this is an upscale mechanic that was used in Assassin's Creed Unity where you can recruit your own people and you can call them out at any given time.
Yeah, or no, that goes back to to Assassin's Creed 2 Brotherhood. That
3.
That was Assassin's Creed 2 Brotherhood.
Yeah,
that was when. So in 2
yeah.
Brotherhood is when you could go recruit. You could recruit more assassins and then send them off on missions. And then when they come up, when you do the main story, and then you can graduate them from like apprentice all the way up to assassin. That was dope. Because like if you did the whistle and then all of a sudden you see like someone coming.
You could kind of do that too in Syndicate, but with children.
Yeah, I remember that. Those little Cockney kids making pickpocket people. Yo, this for you, Sal. But nothing was better than Brotherhood when you could do that because like you could just like whistle and then like if someone was tailing you, then you just see like from the camera from the background someone would just jump on someone and then they smoke bomb. And
actually, you could do that in Syndicate too, because you could actually have your own game and
you didn't beat it. You didn't get it.
No, I had Syndicate.
I was about to say I thought you
took
said
it from me.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. You took Syndicate from me, and you took Batman from me. I know. You gave me back Batman, and you took another game of mine.
Fallout.
Yes, still my Fallout.
Right. So, but so I actually like that mechanic too, where you can just call up people and just have them do that. But this is like a hyper version of it, and it thoroughly impressed me. I was like, it's like Cyberpunk. I was like, sold.
Ubisoft usually does pretty good games. Like I liked the first Watch Dogs. The story was a little hard to get into.
Yeah, it was a slow burn.
Yeah, it was, and then it got a little bit better. But what I liked was that Aiden was not a good guy. Right. He would and his family knew he wasn't a good guy, and that when he was trying to get his sister out and get their daughter and then his niece away from everything. Like you can then, I'm not going to ruin the story, but the fact that like he knew he wasn't a good guy, but he tried his best to do with what he could,
right? And
so that it ended up being a pretty good game. But Watch Dogs 2 was just way better at the approach of things,
right?
Because I liked how you could go lethal, you could go non-lethal,
right?
And I really like that approach. Like most of the time, I usually went non-lethal just because I didn't want to kill people until
lethal.
Until the cops would shoot at me, and then nope,
do.
Drop the cell, suck a duck, and then after that, it was cool. Or kind of like how in because you haven't played Detroit Become Human, right?
No.
Okay, now you need to play that game. So we're playing that, and and then Elijah's like, "Oh, Dad, I'll let you decide what you're gonna do here."
Because I already beat the game.
And he went
multiple times.
He went.
So hold on. The first time I played the game,
killed
I got the most violent ending, and it was.
But I can understand why he did, because when you play the game, especially when you start playing as Marcus, then you start getting this feeling like they're not robots. These are. And this is what's going on,
right?
And then you start to think like, "Well, you oppressing me now, so now I don't want you."
And then, but the more I played, I was like, "Okay, I gotta actually take a peaceful approach to this because every little thing in that game matters for the most part."
When I was trying to do the peaceful demonstration that said firebomb the one store. Because I was walking up to it.
Set fire to the store.
He was like, "Nah, Dad, you can go back in the store." And I tried to go in, but when I did that, the action thing came up, and it did that, and I was like, "Oh, what just happened?" All of a sudden, he takes a fire, like a firebomb, and throws it in the store and burns it up. And I'm like, "Oh, it went from peaceful to violent."
He was at 80% peaceful and 20% violent, and then it went to
50-50.
Yeah, and then they marked a bench, and then it went from 50-50 to 70-30.
Wow. And then we tipped over cars and
Yay!
But that game, I like that. There are more choices in games now where you can either choose to be non-violent or violent, and still has kind of this different repercussions.
I actually like that too. It actually reminds me of the episode of Black Mirror, Bandersnatch.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Now the story itself, I'll leave that alone. But the main premise of it is that there's choice, and then there's the illusion of choice, where the game mechanics actually start to be at play, where you have binary options, where it's either you go left or you go right, and you actually go left, and you find out there's more binary options depending on which path you choose.
Yeah.
But the thing is that these paths are predetermined by the game developer. So, and I believe now that with games have actually evolved, because remember, think about it, you have the side-scrolling platforms with Mario 2, Mario 3, Metroid, Contra, all that other stuff.
Ooh, Contra Collection is one of the games that I want right now.
Really?
Yes.
I was not impressed with that.
Are you crazy?
I was looking like, dude, this is terrible. But anyway, but when I hear Contra, I'm looking for the old school.
It is old school Contra.
There was the other one. There's another one that's like it looks totally weird.
No. So hold on, just not to cut you off from what you're saying about
yeah.
Bandersnatch.
Yeah.
But with Contra, they have the arcade version, then the Nintendo version.
Okay.
Then they have Contra 2,
Okay.
Super C.
Right.
But
No, those are the no. Those are fine. I'm actually all down for those. If there is a new one, like a brand new one, that literally is.
Oh yeah, no, that looks garbage. I'm talking about
That's
the Contra.
what I was talking
Okay, yeah.
Right.
I'm talking about Contra Collection.
No. Contra Collection, I'm down for. I'm down for that. So we're gonna play that. So anyway, back to the Bandersnatch thing. It's like I like the way that games are actually developing now, where they're actually adding so many more options than are just pure binary. You can actually have lots of different choices, custom creations. Which reminds me, Mario Maker 2 is actually going to be coming out really soon.
Oh yes, I'm super excited.
Yeah, it comes out
Mario
like
Maker,
Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah, Mario Maker 2. So if you actually have a Switch, you're probably going to grab that because that's going to be awesome. So, but yeah, there's so many different options now that it's really a good time for video games because, like I said, there's so many different options now that weren't available before, and I'm actually excited for that too. But without further ado, I think that is actually going to close out unless you got something else.
Oh yeah. I just want to talk about this briefly because I want to dedicate this to a whole show or just do a different show just solely on this topic. But I want to because we watched the Bob Lazar Area 51 and UFOs. But what is your take on aliens? Do you even know who Bob Lazar is?
No clue.
Okay, cool, great.
He's a white guy.
Well, beyond that,
I imagine.
So he's a guy that worked in a place near Area 51 called S4 or Sector 4.
Yeah.
And he was a
So you said that I thought Transformers.
he was a physicist, and
I thought he was an engineer.
well, that too, I think. And on the side note, he actually he had a Honda Civic and attached a rocket engine to it. In real life. And so he had a jet powered Honda Civic. And this is back in the 80s even. And so he worked at a place in New Mexico called Los Alamos, where they worked on different jet propulsion and all kinds of things like that,
Right.
Which he was into.
Right.
And so and then someone told him about a job somewhere, and he applied for it, and then so he goes to work at this secret facility, and apparently at this facility they had 9 alien crafts, and one of his jobs, which everything he did was compartmentalized. He was working on what powered one of the ships. And his job was to reverse engineer this technology, or this is what he's saying. And so, and then one of the days he asked them hey, can I go on the ship so I can see, how this worked? Because he was saying it's this device that was used to create gravitational, a gravity field, but it's where it sat kind of in the center of the ship, and it wasn't attached by wires or was not connected in any way, but still drove what is essentially the engine.
Right.
And so he went up in the ship and he was oh wow, these are tiny little seats. And so because I guess one of the names for whatever piloted the vessels was the kids. Were you asleep? I said they called them the kids because they were half the size of humans. Right. So, or a normal human. And and he talks about he never says that he saw an alien. So he comes out straight up and says, I don't call these aliens. He said that the technology that was used to power these ships, to make these ships do anything, the metals, he didn't know if it was metal or ceramic, but he said it definitely wasn't created by the United States or any other known country at that time. Right. No one had the technology to create this thing. So he straight up just says, they had to come from somewhere else. Right. Except for one of the ships, when he talked during the Joe Rogan Experience, they asked, where did they come from? I think one of the ships, he said there was damage to it. He didn't know how the damage got to the ship, other than that there was a hole in it where something ballistic went through it. So it could have hit something, or someone shot it down. He didn't know the answer to that. He just knew he saw one of the ships, or one of these vessels, and that there was a giant hole in it in one of the sides. Okay. And then another one, it was found during an archaeological find. So it was an archaeological find, meaning that an archaeologist found this, meaning that it was buried somewhere and had been there for quite some time. We're not talking about 100 years. We're not even probably talking about 200 years. We're talking about thousands of years is what he's assuming when they said archaeological find.
Right.
So it's just interesting to me that, and I don't want to talk too much about this because I want you to watch it and I want to discuss it, and then I want to bring Corey into this because this is a topic that he wants to talk about with us. Okay. So, and he's the one who showed me the Joe Rogan Experience thing. So he already knew about who Bob Lazar was before. He sent that to me because, like, one channel that I watch, Secure Team, which Tyler, I think, lives in Toledo, Ohio. Like, I get his channel sometimes, and he goes off about all kinds of alien stuff like that. And some of it's just like, dude, come on, like, for real. But other things are pretty interesting. Like, he broke the story about those pilots that in the New York Times or New York Post or one of the major newspapers in New York, where they broke where the Pentagon released footage of the fighter jets that were trailing a craft that was not from this world.
Right.
I mean, they knew it wasn't something the Americans, not something we had, obviously. Not something the Chinese had, not something the Russians had, the Israelis. No one had this technology, and they couldn't even catch up with this vessel, and that it was making turns and doing things that with gravitational forces or G forces that would have broke our bodies. So there's something that's going on, and it's not by coincidence, I think, that this Bob Lazar documentary is out, that the Pentagon's releasing stuff. But I want you to watch it so that way we can discuss this.
All right.
Because it's interesting. Hold on.
Legit.
I was just looking at, I watched this alien movie a long time ago called Extraordinary, the Stan Romanek story, that I didn't think was real. Because it was really, we'll watch it later.
Oh, is that the one that my dad said for us to watch?
I watched it a long time ago.
He told me to watch a whole bunch of movies.
But I was just looking at him, like just him, because I didn't know if he was dead or not.
Yeah.
And turns out he is being he's on trial right now.
Oh.
For some child porn.
And with that, we're going to bring it to a close. So yeah, with this one, we are actually a little bit over time, so we're going to go ahead and bring this one to a close. We will actually get into the weeds about that a little bit later. We'll probably end up making that a special podcast.
Not the
not the child stuff. FBI raided the door. Get on the ground, get on the ground. So anyway, you know what this is. It's Circle Brothers Podcast with RJ.
And with Eric.
And our special guest, the boy.
Elijah.
That's my nephew. All right. Thank you everyone for tuning in and watching your boys chopping up with us. What do you think about these comments, these random discussions that we get into? Go ahead and like and subscribe. Go ahead and leave us some comments. Let us know if you like it. Let us know if you hate it. And we can go ahead and critique our format a little bit in the future. Probably not. But anyway, just go ahead. But anyway, let us know how you actually feel about the podcast. We really do appreciate everyone's likes and subscribes and whatnot. And of course, if you ever pay attention to the audio at the beginning and the audio music at the end, it's actually done by Primitive Sound Labs. If you don't know who that is, do your Googles. My man is actually everywhere doing music for just about everybody, for every single type of occasions. He's also a DJ. So check him out. Google him. That's Primitive Sound Labs. That's Primitive Sound Labs.
Links will be in the description.
Good call. Links will be in the description. You can check that out. And outside of that, again, we just thank you again for checking us out today, and we'll actually see you next time. All right. Peace, everybody.
Peace.